I call Alfred Naro.
Rise to take a second call on the second reading of this bill. And Mr. Speaker, I just realised that as the member was speaking, that I thought it came up with a good fundraising idea for Mr. Phil Twyford. Because of all the flip-flopping, he should have a pair of jandals called Phil's Flip-Flops. Okay, it sort of goes on and off as a fundraising idea. Why? Because the reality is that's what we have even from that speech. Because at first, on the first reading, they stood up and said, we oppose this bill. However, if we separate the bill, we can support the first part, but not the second part of the bill. So the first part of the bill obviously is the extension of the Special Housing Accord Act, which would allow for another 3-year period. And yet, he went on in his speech to continue to bag all the things about the Special Housing Accord Act in itself and what it enables to do, the fast tracking of consenting to allow for rezoning for those particular areas. And so therefore, on one hand, they said they support it. On the second hand, but hang on, it's not that great, it doesn't work, but we'll go back again and we'll support it. Mr. Speaker, if he'd just make up his mind, but I actually think greater than Havana's could be Phil's Flip-Flops. That's a good fundraising idea, because that's the sort of speeches that we're hearing from the other side. He knows when it came to the LVRs, the loan-to-value ratios, he said, not a good idea. All of a sudden they came in, it's a great idea. Metropolitan urban limits, not a good idea. All of a sudden it's a great idea. Devolving stock into the community housing the community housing providers. What happened? It's a great idea, not a good idea. Flip-flop, flip-flop. Mr. Speaker, this is a comprehensive plan. The Special Housing Accords is not the silver bullet, but it adds to the toolbox that we know that's important in addressing these issues. Adds to the toolbox. Why? Productivity Commission report states that. Consenting and the slow process we know is critical. We know it's not the whole, but is one part of the reasons why we need to build. Mr. Speaker, so yeah, that's right. So let's, Mr. Dennis O'Rourke, you want to say, show me the money, show me the houses. So let's talk about this. In June of this year, 2016, the Special Housing Accords, let's talk about the results. 1,300 homes have been completed, 2,200 building consents have been issued, 2,458 new sections have been created, 7,170 new sections have been granted resource consents out of the 154 Special Housing Accords in Auckland. We know that's good news, we know it's making a difference. 26 have been built on capacity of 29,800, 15 have earthworks under capacity, 5,300, and 88 are in the same stage of the planning process. Mr. Speaker, those are not just talk, those are results, they're facts. That's what's happening. I know that it's not happening faster. We want it to happen quicker as well. Actually, the points that were made by previous speakers, only 25 out of the 154 state housing accords have not had consents or plan changes lodged, 16 of which were declared in February and May of this year. Hence the reason why, when the question was, why do we need to put this under urgency? We need to ensure that we extend the period of time. That's critically important to this bill, and we think that's important as well. So here's the other thing about what it will do. Is that it will allow for a planned variation for applications that have begun but not completed under the current Act to continue when a proposed district plan becomes operative. We know that the Unity Plan, now that it's finally gone through with the Auckland Council, allows for that, hence the reason why the extension will imply that as well. The other thing that I think that's important that maybe get missed, Mr. Speaker, is that we'll also to encourage and impose the fact is that the consenting and the lodging of those consents for housing must be done within a 12-month period of time. We think that's important. That will actually be able to fast-track the ability to say, if you're going to apply for a special housing accord area, then you need to enact that within a certain period of time. We think that's important as well. Why the 3 years? House prices continue to rise and the supply of housing continues to lag behind demand. The extension of this by 3 years will allow for additional special housing areas to be established and provide a faster housing development and increased housing supply. We think that's critically important as well. Mr. Speaker, I just want to finish off my speech here in the second reading, just to sort of talk about some of the results that we think are critically important around the area. Again, this is part of a suite of tools that we think are important. 85,000 new houses that were built in this term of Parliament. 40 houses built every working day. When the National Party came into government in 2008, it was on average 10 houses. We know that it's making a difference. It's actually at 40 houses built every working day in Auckland, 4 times what it was when National was elected in 2008. Over 2,000 homes were built on Crown land. We've freed up land in Auckland and in Christchurch. We know that it's making a difference. Mr. Speaker, we think that this is important. We see it's pragmatic. I know that Mr. Phil Twyford supports it because he has said so. It's only the second party doesn't support. But when we talk about this bill, what it's enabling us in regards to build more to the demand, we think it's making a difference. Mr. Speaker, I commend this bill to the House.
I call Cummins Sepuloni.